Hello, welcome to ANA community. From the past few videos, we are discussing about the concept of Samprapti. In the first video, we have discussed overall definition of Samprapti and its understanding in Ayurveda textbooks. In the second video, we have started with the first term that is being described in that is Samprapti definition, that is Dushta Dosha. Today, we are going to discuss the second factor in the analysis of Samprapti, that is Anuvisarpana. In the next video, we are going to discuss the Amayasa Nirvritti. When we speak the term Anuvisarpana, so here Anu means it is the along with the, or Anu means when we speak the term Anuvisarpana, it is referring to the rapid spread of the pathogens or the vitiated dosha in the body. As we have discussed the determinants of Samprapti, as per the definition, Yatha Dushtena Dushena Yatha Chanu Visarpata Nirvritti Ramayasya Su Sampraptir Jatiragati. Dushta dosha is one particular determinant. Second one, that is Anuvisarpana of dosha. So that means the movement of the vitiated dosha in the body. And third determinant is Amayasa Nirvritti or manifestation of the disease in the body. So as far as the description of Anuvisarpana, it is being mentioned that Yathavacha Anuvisarpata iti anekadha doshana visarpanam gatihi urdhva adha tiryak adi bhedena tatha visarpata samsarpata. So that means the visarpata is happening. That means the multiple dosha, vitiated dosha, that is moving in the body, either in the upward direction or in the downward direction or in the tiryak direction, that is urdhva, adha or tiryagati, upward, downward or oblique direction. So that is what is considered to be Anuvisarpana. As far as the Ashtanga Hridaya Arunadatta commentary, that says Yatha cha Anuvisarpata Deham Anudhavata Sannivesha Visheshena Gachata. Deham Anudhavata, that means these vitiated dosha, they are moving in the body continuously. Whereas Sannivesha Visheshena Gachata, depending upon the nature of the situation, if the person is consuming the Adhyashana, Anuvisarpan definitely starts in the Mahasrotas itself. If the person is continuously indulging in the Vyavaya, this Anuvisarpana will be taking place from the yoni or from the yoni to the ovaries in that way. So that is what we can say the Anuvisarpana refers to. Sanchalitattvena va vegena margantarena gatirityadi sanchalitatva prakara. So that means sanchalitatva. So that means the one which is considered to be Visarpana, doing the Visarpana, that may be moving in the natural course, maybe slow in action or maybe very rapid in action, or otherwise margantarena. So that means it will be taking a different course of the movement as such. So whenever we speak about the concept of Anuvisarpana, we have to know about these different terminologies: motion, diffusion and osmosis, Starling forces, sludging of blood, capillaries of the human body, proportion of the blood present in the cardiovascular system, compartment and Roga mark understanding, concept of pathogen. So it need not be microbes itself, any of the Nidana or any of these Nidana that are responsible for the production of inflammatory markers can be a pathogen. concept of Kriya Kala, then natural orifices and their impact on the health, and the overall understanding of Anuvisarpana. So when you think about the first one, that is the application of motion as such. So it is being mentioned that motion is a change in the position of the object with respect to its time and its reference point. It is actually described in terms of displacement, velocity, acceleration, and time. So that means whenever if you are taking a food, the initial morsel will be started from mouth to stomach. So here the 2 points are mouth and stomach. So that is, if the person is rapidly consuming the food, the movement of the food will be frequent. If the person is very slowly taking the food by talking with the other people, etc., the movement of the food will be slower. Or in that way, that is being defined there. So the entry of air from nose to lungs, it is again a movement itself. Oxygen movement from the mouth, from the nose, then nasal cavity, nasopharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, and alveoli. These are the different areas, these are the different reference points wherein the movement of the oxygen takes place. Whereas the carbon dioxide movement, lungs, bronchi, trachea, larynx, then nasopharynx, the nasal cavity, and nostrils. In this way, the motion will be movement of the urea from the liver to the kidney. So that is, liver is the organ which produces the urea. From there it will be entering into the hepatic veins, then inferior vena cava, heart, then aorta, then renal arteries. In that way, that will be entering via kidneys. Movement of the pathogen from mouth to stomach, that is the natural course. If the person is frequently consuming the food without considering the proper oral hygiene, there may be a possibility of the pathogen multiplication in the oral cavity, which may enter into the stomach. If the person is indulging in frequent sexual intercourse, then the pathogens as such, which are being considered to be may be present in the urethra, that will enter into the reverse direction. Thereby, the urinary bladder may be afflicted. If the person is having the prostatomegaly, the male individual, elderly male is having the prostatomegaly, then there may be a possibility of the urinary bladder affliction. In this way, the motion has to be applied clinically. When you think about the diffusion, it is a process that refers to the net movement of molecules which takes place from a region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. Here, the material may be either solid, such as glucose, etc., or that may be liquid, such as water, and that may be gas, such as oxygen, carbon dioxide, etc. The medium in which this process occurs could be either solid, liquid, or gaseous state. Solid in the sense that maybe this particular diffusion can happen in the alimentary mucosa, and in the liquid medium in the sense that can happen in the peritoneal cavity, or gaseous state that can happen in the lungs. That is oxygen movement. These are the different examples here. Oxygen movement across the capillaries from the region of higher concentration to lower concentration, alveoli to pulmonary capillaries. Carbon dioxide movement from the pulmonary capillaries to alveoli. Movement of the glucose from the interstitial spaces to inside the cell. So that is, increased concentration is present in the interstitial space, which in turn results in the movement into the cell itself. Movement of the sodium molecules outside the cell to the inside. In case of depolarization, that is the example there. Movement of the pathogen from one region to another region. Movement of the pathogen from the oral cavity to stomach, or movement of the pathogen from the heart to kidneys, or the movement of the pathogen from heart to brain, or the movement of the pathogen from the anus to the colon, reverse direction may be possible, or the movement of the pathogen from the mouth, from the nose to ears. In this way, the pathogen movement can happen. This is determined by, that is, diffusion is determined by temperature, particle size, and pressure, etc. When you think about the term osmosis, osmosis is a spontaneous movement or diffusion of the solvent molecules through a selectively permeable membrane from a region of higher water potential to the region of lower water potential. This is a process that is occurring in biological systems. It is being mentioned that biological membranes are semi-permeable. The term semi-permeable refers to they are passing some of the molecules easily and some other molecules they are not at all passing. For example, the semi-permeable membranes, they are impermeable to larger molecules, whereas they are permeable to smaller molecules, proteins, and some polar molecules such as sodium and polysaccharides, etc. Whereas they are permeable to non-polar molecules such as lipids and smaller molecules such as oxygen or carbon dioxide or nitrogen or nitric oxide. In this way, the osmosis is the one process where the movement of the substances are going to take place across the membrane, which are considered to be semi-permeable. So the next point that we need to know about, that is Starling forces. It is a person who is Ernest Starling, a British physiologist. He formulated this particular concept, that is Starling forces. Basically, it is a movement happening across the capillaries and interstitial spaces, or otherwise the movement that happening between the intravascular compartment to interstitial compartment. When you think about it, most of the occasions there will be osmosis. So when there is the damage to the capillary membrane is happening, that is due to the inflammatory markers, etc., due to the that is trauma to the capillaries, there will be the capillary membrane that will be lost. In that particular situation, the movement will be taking place through a simple process of diffusion. So now what is this particular, the Starling forces refers to? Starling forces comprises of two types of the pressures. One that is hydrostatic pressure, second one that is oncotic pressure. So here the image in the capillary, that is there are two types of the arrows are there, green colored arrow and red colored arrow. So this green colored arrow representing the hydrostatic pressure and red colored arrow representing the oncotic pressure. So the hydrostatic pressure is actually exerted by water, whereas oncotic pressure that is being exerted by proteins and electrolytes. So when you think about the interstitial space, so here also there are the two types of the pressures are there, tissue tension and oncotic pressure. So here purple colored arrow, They are nothing but the hydrostatic pressure at the interstitial space, whereas the yellow colored arrow, that is representing the oncotic pressure there. Hydrostatic pressure actually responsible for the push effect. So that means, for example, if the hydrostatic pressure at the arterial end, so that is responsible for the transport of the fluid or water portion from the capillary to interstitial space. Whereas the oncotic pressure is the one which is exactly having the opposite action of hydrostatic pressure. So that means the oncotic pressure is actually preventing the movement of a fluid from capillary to interstitial space. Whereas when you look into the venous end, hydrostatic pressure is comparatively lesser than that of the arterial end of the capillary. This is because of the excess movement of the water portion from the capillary to interstitial space. As the amount of the water present in the arterial end is comparatively more, hydrostatic pressure will be more at the arterial end. Whereas the amount of the water present at the venous end is comparatively lesser when compared to the arterial end of the capillary, there will be the lower hydrostatic pressure. So in this way, so when you think about the overall movement, the hydrostatic pressure and oncotic pressure in the arterial end, in the capillaries, and tissue tension and oncotic pressure of the interstitial spaces, they act simultaneously. So next thing about the sludging of blood. When you think about the sludging of blood, so as we have discussed earlier in the capillaries, arterial end will be having the comparatively less viscous blood, whereas at the venous end it will be more viscous blood due to the transport of the fluid from the capillary to interstitial space. Hence, this is the main phenomena that occurs when there is increased concentration of the proteins, which are considered to be or otherwise inflammatory markers present in the interstitial spaces. And this may be the phenomena of avarana initiation. When you think about the blood and cardiovascular system, so that is considered to be the blood is not being present in all these cardiovascular system uniformly. So there are certain distribution of the blood, so that will be comparatively increased in some portions and decreased in some portions. Here the possible percentage of the blood in different parts of the cardiovascular system is being mentioned. In case of pulmonary circulation, 9% of the blood will be present, whereas in case of systemic circulation, 91% of the blood will be present. When you think about the further subdivision of systemic circulation, heart will be consisting of 7% of the blood. All four chambers are having 7% of the blood, whereas the arteries will contain 13% of the blood, whereas arterioles and capillaries, they will be having 7% of the blood, whereas veins, venules, and venous sinuses, etc., they will be containing 64% of the blood. So like this, when you think about the movement, so the percentage of the blood in the arteries, they are comparatively lesser, whereas the percentage of the blood present in the venules and veins, that is more. And when you think about the movement as such, the movement of the blood will be comparatively rapid in case of arteries, whereas the movement of the blood in the veins, that will be comparatively slower. In the same way, the movement of the pathogens may be rapid in the arteries, whereas the movement of the pathogens in the veins, that will be slower. And it is also being mentioned in the guidance physiology again, adult human body is consisting of 10 billion capillaries on an average. So 1 billion refers to 100 crores, 10 billion refers to 1000 crores of capillaries are being present. The next point that we are going to discuss is Roga Marga and compartment. This is an image that is considered to be the image of the human body. It's a schematic representation in terms of the Roga Marga. The one extremely left, which are having 5 different compartments, that is considered to be alimentary canal, which are having 5 main parts: mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. So on the extreme left, you are having the different numbers 2 to 3, m, etc. So that means they are considered to be the amount of time where the food will be in contact with that part of the alimentary canal as such. For example, mouth, in the mouth, the food may remain for a period of 2 minutes or 3 minutes maximum. Whereas in the esophagus, the food will be remaining for a period of 2 or 3 seconds only. In case of stomach, the food may remain for a period of 2 hours. In small intestine, the food may remain for a period of 6 hours. Whereas in the large intestine, the food may remain for a period of 24 to 48 hours. So these are necessary for the conversion of macromolecules into micromolecules. When there is conversion of micromolecules, the nutrients are going to get absorbed from the stomach, small intestine, large intestine. From there, it will be entering into the capillaries of stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. From there, it will be entering into the portal circulation. From there, it will be entering into the liver, then to inferior vena cava, then to heart, then to aorta, then to arteries and capillaries. From the capillaries, these nutrients will be moving into the interstitial space. From the interstitial space, these nutrients that will be moving into the cell. In the same way, so most of us are having the pathogens. If they are entering from the oral cavity, that will enter the same course. From the stomach, it may enter into the capillaries. From there, it will be entering into the intravascular compartment. As the pathogens, when you think about it, the pathogens are larger molecules. They are not taking the usual course of portal circulation. Instead, they will be taking the lymphatic circulation. From there, it will be entering into the lymphatics, then to thoracic duct, then to superior vena cava, then to heart, and then to aorta and arteries and capillaries. That means when a pathogen is entering into the alimentary canal, from there, if it enters into the circulation, that will be bypassing the liver. So when you think about the understanding of Roga Marga, for that you need to know about the first video, that is the in the Roga Marga, concept of Roga Marga and significance of Roga Marga. You will be in a better position to understand this particular concept even better. To summarize the Roga Marga and compartment, Abhyantara Roga Marga, that is considered to be alimentary canal compartment or gastrointestinal tract compartment. Bahya Roga Marga, that refers to intravascular compartment and interstitial compartment and intracellular compartment outside the bones, joints or marma. Whereas Madhyama Roga Marga, that refers to intravascular compartment, interstitial compartment and intracellular compartment inside the bones, joint and marma. That is considered to be Madhyama Roga Marga. As far as concept of pathogen is concerned, pathogen is a substance which initiates a pathological event or which initiates pathogenesis. That means which is responsible for cell injury. This particular cell injury can happen because of physical trauma, such as the hit, or chemical trauma, such as ingestion of an acid also, or alkali also, or immunological cause because of the in the reaction of the blood cells or immune cells into the body, or infective cause into of a microorganism into the body, or traumatic cause such as weapons or the what do you say, that road traffic accident or sports injury, etc. These events are initiating the release of proteins, that is inflammatory markers, etc. These proteins, for example, are fibrinogen in the injured tissue, or there may be a possibility of release of either histamine or bradykinin or serotonin or prostaglandin in the interstitial spaces. So thus the pathogen can be a microbe or any substance which is released in the human body due to the abnormal changes occurring in the human body. From this pathogen can have an movement in multiple directions. So that may move into the neighboring cells, or that may move into the distant cells with the help of either capillaries or lymphatics. So when you think about the concept of Kriya Kala, so the main cause of the disease will be considered to be the dosha utpatti in the Mahasrotas. So this particular dosha utpatti in the Mahasrotas is going to take place because of abnormal diet patterns. When you consider the whole human race, 95% or more of the cases, these diseases are manifested because of abnormal diet patterns, such as Adhyashana or Vishamashana or Viruddhashana or Samashana or Atyashana or Anashana. So like that. So here the example is being taken of Adhyashana. When there is Adhyashana, what actually happens is the body, the pyloric antrum is going to get closed. So that may be responsible for the reduced hydrochloric acid. When there is reduced hydrochloric acid, there will be hampered pepsin activity. Why hampered pepsin activity? Because when there is reduced hydrochloric acid, so that means the optimum level of hydrochloric acid to be active is 1.8 to 3.5. When the pH of HCl is going to increase more than 5, then pepsinogen is unable to get converted into pepsin, which are essential for the conversion of macromolecules into intermediate molecules or micromolecules. Because of this, there may be a possibility of a gastric mucosal damage also. When there is gastric mucosal damage associated with less pepsin activity, there will be a stasis of macromolecules will be happening in the stomach for even much longer time. As we are consuming more amount of the carbohydrate rich diet, the bacterial proliferation also will be an added cause for the gastric mucosal damage. Because of that, there will be inflammation in the stomach that is going to take place. Because of this particular inflammation, there will be the release of inflammatory markers. These inflammatory markers are nothing but the proteins. So that means there will be increased oncotic pressure is going to take place in the stomach. Because of this, there will be influx of fluid from the capillaries of the stomach into the stomach lumen is going to take place. This is what is considered to be a state of prakopa. When the person is doing adhyashana, that will be considered to be a state of sanchaya. When there is the more and more is the fluid is going to get entered into the stomach, this is considered to be prakopa. And when there is macromolecules which are present in the stomach capillaries, so because of the gastric mucosal damage, they enter into the capillaries of the stomach, which in turn enters into the lymphatics. As they do not enter, as they cannot enter from the capillaries of the stomach into the total circulation because of the macromolecular size. From the lymphatics, that will be entering into the thoracic duct, then that will be entering into superior vena cava, then it is entering into the heart. From there, it will be entering into the aorta and the arterioles and capillaries, etc. This is considered to be a state of prasara. So that means when there is the macromolecules after the damage to the gastric mucosa, that will be macromolecules will be entering from the stomach mucosa, that will be entering into the circulation. This is considered to be a prasara stage. Here there will be bypassing the portal circulation will be taking place. Similar phenomena can occur in the small intestine also. That means if the macromolecules are staying in the stomach for a period of 2 hours, that means after a matter of 2 hours later, these macromolecules which are present in the stomach, they start entering into the small intestine. Thereby, inflammation, etc. processes will be taking place in the small intestine also. Later, after a matter of 6 hours later, that may enter into the large intestine too. Thus, the concept of Kriya Kala and its understanding in terms of mechanism of disease manifestation can be done. When you consider the natural orifices and Anuvisarpana, so that means the natural orifices, they also plays a major role in the exposure to Nidana Sevana. It is being mentioned that the 9 orifices are present in the males and 12 orifices are present in the females. So let us take the example. The 7 are being present in the head and neck region. 1 mouth, 2 nostrils, 2 eyes and 2 ears. 2 are present in the chest. In case of females, they are the 2 breasts as such, and 3 are present in the females in the lower abdomen, that is the vagina, 1 urethra and 1 anus, and in case of males, 1 urethra and 1 anus are being present. When you think about the Anusarpana, so that means whenever a pathogen that is entering from the mouth, that has to take the course of mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine. Or otherwise, there may be a possibility of entry of this pathogen from the mouth into the stomach. There may be a reversal of the movement. When there is a pathogen is entering through the nose, that has to take the course of nose, nasal cavity, larynx, trachea, bronchi, and alveoli. When the pathogens are entering through the eyes, there may be a possibility of the spread of the pathogen may be happening in the conjunctiva, or that may happen in the nasolacrimal duct or surrounding structures of the eye. When the person is having the exposure of the pathogen into the ears, there may be a possibility of entry of pathogen from the ear into the external auditory canal, hence to the tympanic membrane. When the person is having the exposure of the Nidana, for example, Ativyavaya, in case of the sexual intercourse, excessive sexual intercourse, pathogens can enter from the vulva to vagina, vagina to cervix, cervix to uterus, from there to fallopian tube. In that way, there may be a possibility. In case of the urethra, that is, there may be a possibility of entry of pathogens may happen in the urethra, then to urinary bladder, ureter, and kidney. in that way, there may be a possibility of Anusarpana may happen even in the natural orifices also. So, in other words, the meaning of Anuvisarpana, that means a movement of a substance or a movement of a pathogen, in particular in the body. It can take the natural course of the srotas, that is mouth to anus, as we have discussed earlier, nose to larynx, eye to lacrimal duct, vulva to ovary, or ovary to vulva. In case of the, what you say, that the ovulation, from the ovary, it will be entering into uterine tube, then to uterus, then to vagina, and then that will be expelled. So, movement of the pathogen or Anuvisarpana or vitiated dosha that can happen in the alimentary canal, in the upward direction or downward direction, which is being termed as urdhvagati and adhogati. And movement of the pathogen that can happen in terms of compartment also. From the alimentary canal, that will be entering into intravascular compartment. From the intravascular compartment, that may enter into the interstitial compartment. From the interstitial compartment, these pathogens may enter into intracellular compartment. So this is considered to be the Tiryak Gati. That means the movement of the pathogens from the stomach or from the small intestine or from the large intestine into the intravascular compartment, from there into the interstitial compartment, at last into the intracellular compartment, that is considered to be Tiryak Gati. The movement of the pathogens can also happen even inside the cell also. Cell membrane to nucleus or cell membrane to ribosome, etc. They are considered to be Anuvisarpana. The take-home messages from today's discussion are: the term Anuvisarpana refers to the continuous movement, that too rapid movement. So, Visarpana of the dosha or abnormal bioenergy or pathogen that is going to take place. And it can happen either in the urdhvagati or adhogati or tiryak gati. So that means either in the upward direction or in the downward direction, or from the alimentary canal to intravascular compartment or to interstitial compartment or to the intracellular compartment. And it can happen even in the koshtha or shakha or marmasthi sandhi. So whenever if we are looking into the Anuvisarpana, we have to have open eyes to determine the exact nature of Visarpana happening inside the body. Dear ANA members, that's all for today. What are the major key takeaways from today's discussion? Mention in the comment box below. And what is the one video that you would like to hear in the coming days in this channel? Mention in the comment box below. And spread this particular video to maximum number of true Ayurveda learners, true Nidana learners, true Ayurveda diagnostic learners, so that we can make a huge movement out of this particular small message. That's all for today. Something more in the next video. Thank you.